Hello and welcome to What the F Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it.
It's Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Welcome to day 1457. Israel and Hamas agreed to a 42-day ceasefire. The deal temporarily pauses the 15 months of fighting in the Gaza Strip, where Israeli forces have killed at least 46,500 Palestinians, most of whom were civilians, in response to the October 7th terror attack. More than 110,000 people have been injured in Gaza during this period. The deal will take effect on Sunday and will be implemented in phases, starting with the first phase in which 33 hostages held by Hamas will be exchanged for approximately 1,000 Palestinian hostages held by Israel. During this phase, Israel will reduce its military presence in Gaza and allow Palestinians to return to the north, despite extensive destruction in the area. In Phase 2, the remaining living hostages will be exchanged, accompanied by a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Israel estimates that around 60 living hostages remain in Gaza. The third phase involves the return of deceased hostages' remains, and a major reconstruction plan for Gaza will begin. Moving on, a quick recap of today's Trump cabinet confirmation hearings. First up, Pam Bondi was nominated for Attorney General and vowed to depoliticize the DOJ, but faced criticism for refusing to commit to prosecutorial independence from Trump, including whether she would prosecute journalists or drop cases at Trump's request. Next up is Marco Rubio, who was nominated for Secretary of State. Rubio supported NATO, called China a dangerous near-peer adversary, and endorsed Taiwan's porcupine strategy meant to deter invasion. He also aligned himself with Trump's America First vision, stating that placing our core national interest above all else is not isolationism. It is the common-sense realization that a foreign policy centered on our national interest is not some outdated relic. Other nominees included Chris Wright for Energy Secretary, who pledged to implement Trump's fossil fuel expansion plan, and Russell Vought for Budget Director, who signaled plans for significant government spending cuts. Meanwhile, Senator Joni Ernst announced her support for Pete Hegseth's nomination for Defense Secretary, increasing Hegseth's chances of Senate confirmation despite allegations of sexual assault and concerns about his record. Ernst was initially skeptical of Hegseth's candidacy due to the sexual assault allegations and allegations of mismanagement, and cited private assurances and his commitments to Pentagon audits addressing sexual assault in the military and ensuring opportunities for women in combat as her reasons for supporting him. Her decision eliminates the need for unanimous Republican support and leaves only a few undecided senators as potential opposition. At the same time, Senate Democrats criticized the FBI's background check on Hegseth, highlighting omissions such as not interviewing key witnesses, including an ex-wife and an accuser. Despite these concerns, 0 Senate Republicans have publicly opposed Hegseth, and a vote is scheduled for January 20th. Moving on, inflation rose to 2.9% in December, driven mostly by higher gas and egg prices, while core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy costs, went down to 3.2%, the smallest increase in months. The mixed inflation report highlights ongoing challenges with elevated prices for essentials such as housing and food, but shows signs of cooling in areas like rent and clothing. Analysts noted that if core inflation continues its downward trend, the Federal Reserve might cut interest rates later this year. However, economic uncertainty surrounding Trump's proposed tariffs and immigration policies could pressure future inflation, complicating the Fed's decision-making. And finally, Joe Biden will deliver his final Oval Office address to the nation at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, reflecting on his political career, which spanned more than 50 years, as well as the accomplishments of his presidency. It will be Biden's 5th address from the Oval Office. In his previous one, he explained his decision not to run for re-election. The speech tonight is expected to highlight his key domestic achievements, including creating 16.6 million new jobs, reducing prescription drug costs, and passing significant infrastructure and climate legislation. In a farewell letter previewing his remarks, Biden wrote that it had been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. He said the country is stronger, more prosperous, and more secure than it was 4 years ago, and noted his efforts to guide the nation out of the COVID-19 pandemic and stabilize the economy, which he described as the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, saying his efforts were central to his legacy. On foreign policy, he emphasized in his letter that his administration had success in rebuilding alliances, supporting Ukraine against Russia, and countering adversaries such as Iran. He defended the withdrawal from Afghanistan while noting its costs, and looking ahead, he pledged to remain engaged in public life, emphasizing that he would not be out of sight or out of mind.
That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.